It has been a minute since we have had a video out. I have been just enjoying life and soaking up this new dad life thing that has completely taken over my entire world. And I wanted to thank each and every one of you who has sent messages and well wishes to my fiance and myself. We greatly appreciate it. The little man is happy, healthy, and absolutely blowing us away with this entire new world that we are experiencing. But enough about that. I can ramble on about him all day long. I know you guys are here to talk some backpacking tips. Matty's here to talk backpacking tips. It's serious talk today. We got the guns out. You guys know it's serious. Let's dive into some backpacking tips that I don't really think enough people talk about. The first tip that we're going to talk about is one that is extremely important and I don't think enough people really take into consideration, and that's being proactive when it comes to your foot maintenance. Now, I know everybody probably has a little bit of foot maintenance stuff in their first aid kit, be it moleskins or leukotape or duct tape or whatever it is you use if you're getting blisters or hot spots. But I think the most important thing when it comes to your feet is not so much being reactive with your feet, but being proactive. Being proactive with your feet comes before you even hit the trail. When, say, you pick up a new pair of boots or you pick up a new pair of trail runners, or even if you're trying a new pair of socks or a new brand of socks, and that's just getting out and testing them out before you hit the trail, making sure that the socks that you use and the footwear that you use are going to mesh well together and are going to work for your feet. I know I talk a lot about how the Injinji toe socks have been an absolute game changer for me when it comes to my feet. And I know a lot of people out there that don't like the Injinji toe socks and they like the darn tough socks. And then you've got the crowd that likes the Smartwool socks. And these guys are completely wrong, but let them enjoy their Smartwool socks. Footwear is so subjective. The footwear that works for me may not work for you, and it may not work for the next person. I'm not trying to push any kind of footwear or any kind of sock brands out there. I'm literally just saying, before you even think about stepping out on trail, throw your footwear on, throw the socks on that you're going to be wearing out on your backpacking trip, and go do a little bit of a walk around your neighborhood, or if you can find some hills or some stairs or anything that's going to kind of be a little bit different than just walking down pavement. I mean, if all you have is just walking down pavement, try out your footwear, make sure it's going to work, make sure it's going to be comfortable. If you notice any hot spots forming, keep that in mind. And before you hit the trail on your backpacking trip, think about maybe throwing a little bit of leukotape or a moleskin or a little piece of duct tape on that spot on your foot that was starting to draw a little bit of a hot spot before you even got on trail. Like I said, proactive foot maintenance is key. It's going to help a lot in the long run. Instead of forcing you to stop, take your shoes off and be reactive, if you're proactive, it's just going to make life a little bit more comfortable on trail. The chances are it's going to eliminate a lot of those stops when you're out on trail and you've got to take your shoes off or take your boots off, pull your sock down, tape up a hot spot. If you already know that these hot spots are going to be there because you've tested out your footwear, you've tested out your socks, you can be proactive with your footwear. It's going to make life that more comfortable in the long run. The next tip we're going to talk about is your vehicle keys. You drive to the trailhead, you're going to be driving home from the trailhead. Obviously, you're going to have to do something with your keys when you're out there on trail on your backpacking trip. I know more than a few people who have run into the situation of misplacing their car keys or simply forgetting their car keys in their vehicle, locking themselves out of their vehicle. Or if you're doing the kind of trip where you've got one vehicle parked at one trailhead, one vehicle parked at the other, just making sure that you've got the right set of keys on you when you're hiking from A to B, and you get to car B and all of a sudden you realize you left those keys in car A. I make sure I lock up my vehicle with the keys using the little clickers so the horn honks, and then I do an audible key check, keys going in pocket. My little ribs front pack that I carry on all of my backpacking trips, I have one pocket on the very front of this pack that is designated as my key pocket. The only thing that ever goes in that pocket is my car keys. This pocket never gets opened when I'm out on trail. I know some packs in the lid, they have this little key clip. Utilize that thing. If you've got any kind of little clip inside your pack that you know has got a little kind of a little mitten clip thing or whatever, clip your keys onto that. Put them somewhere safe where you know nothing's going to happen to them when you're out there on trail. Now, when you're out there on trail and you've hiked a day and you've got to your camp location and got set up and had your evening and you get up the next morning and you have your breakfast and you're getting packed up and you're getting ready to go, this is where our next tip comes in. And it's just simply taking that extra minute to do a complete check of your campsite before you leave. I call it my dummy check. Basically, once I am packed up and I have everything loaded into my pack, I throw my pack on my back and then I do a complete walk around of my campsite location. I do a walk around of the eating location just to make sure that I haven't left anything behind. And the type of things that I'm looking for are things that are very, very easy to leave in place or to misplace, stuff like tent pegs or for myself being a hammock camper, making sure I've got my tree straps off the trees, making sure I've got my whoopee slings, and I'm not leaving any of my hammock suspension behind. And when we talk about going through our eating location, stuff like your spork, I have misplaced a spork in the past, and it wasn't the end of the world, but it was a bit of a pain when I get to my next camp location on day 4 of a 9-day backpacking trip and realize, oh crap, I left my spork 20 kilometers back, and there's no way I'm walking back that far to grab my spork. So someone who backpacked the North Boundary Trail after September 2017 got themselves a nice green Snow Peak titanium spork because Matty was a bonehead and I didn't perform a thorough dummy check and just completely misplaced my spork. Like I said, it's not the end of the world. I was able to use some sticks and get myself through the backpacking trip. But had it been something a little more substantial, like say my hammock suspension, like I mentioned earlier, that could definitely put a significant damper on a backpacking trip. So before you leave your campsite location and start hiking, whether you're hiking home or you're continuing on to the next campsite you're going to, make sure you do your dummy check before you leave your site. Now, as we're talking about campsites and kind of doing our dummy check, this next tip definitely has to do with campsite locations and hiking trails in general. We're going to talk a little bit about Leave No Trace principles, or LNT, and we're not going to talk about all of Leave No Trace because the entire scope of Leave No Trace, or LNT, is way too big to cover in one video alone. I could do an entire video series on Leave No Trace, but in this video here today, we are specifically going to talk about cleaning up after ourselves when we're out in the backcountry. There is nothing that puts a bigger damper on some of these amazing locations that I go backpacking in than finding apple cores and banana peels and granola bar wrappers and Mountain House packages and masks left out there on the trail, in campsites, in fire pits. It's absolutely disgusting and it's insulting to these amazing places that we go backpacking in. It's very easy to just simply do your part and help maintain these places, so my little man, when he's grown up and he's old enough to go walking and go hiking with me, these places are still going to be looking pristine and looking amazing and not going to be ruined, and we're not going to have increases in fees so that the government can go out there and clean stuff. It's ridiculous. Like, I wonder sometimes what some of these people's houses look like when you go out there on a backpacking trip and you go to a campsite and it's just completely littered with garbage. Like, I don't know. I don't understand the mentality behind it. Like, is it common that someone's going to come behind you and clean up after you when you make a mess in your own house? I really don't think so. And it's the same out in the backcountry. If we pack it in with us, we're going to pack it out with us. So when you're done watching this video, run to your pantry or, your kitchen, wherever you're going to keep some of your little storage bags. Grab yourself a large Ziploc freezer bag, maybe 2. Throw it in your backpack, throw it in your food bag. This is what I carry personally. This is my garbage bag. So when I'm out on a backpacking trip, my garbage goes in here. I also carry one on the outside of my pack because I'm almost always cleaning up other people's garbage out there on trail, especially out of fire pits. And that's probably the one that irks me the most, is when I get to an epic camp location and the fire pit is just filled with garbage. Like I said, Mountain House bags and, food wrappers and orange peels and apple cores and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if the mentality is that just putting it in the fire pit means that the person who comes next is going to have a fire and just burn all your garbage. It blows my mind that people don't take into consideration that once they leave that campsite, animals are going to come to that campsite, and now you're going to have animals associating this campsite as a source of food. Now, where I backpack, which is prime grizzly bear habitat, the last thing that I want is to be strolling into a campsite and find out the hard way that a grizzly bear now associates this location as a source of food. So let's just think a little bit here, guys and gals. Pack a Ziploc freezer bag in our packs, clean up after ourselves. Let's all do our part and take care of some of these amazing places that we go backpacking in. That one makes my blood boil just a little bit. I probably got a little bit ranty there, but like I said, guys, it's very easy to do, to just clean up after ourselves when we're out there in the backcountry. Let's not leave a mess for the next people coming. And if you guys enjoyed this video and you guys like the hiking and backpacking tips, I've got an entire playlist built up of different hiking and backpacking tips, and I'll slide it right here for you guys. So when you're done with this video, go grab your Ziploc freezer bag, throw it in your backpack, and find a video in that playlist. And as always, I'm Matty. Thank you so dang much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.